Everybody's posting clips of themselves dancing. I guess particularly on TikTok, but I went into the wonderful world of TikTok just to see the other day, and there were only 2 friends of mine on my entire database of about 10,000 people who were members of TikTok, so I don't think so. this end of the electric guitar portion of the live show, because I'm not going to inflict upon you the process of me changing a string on this thing, which is never that smooth, and I'm always pricking my fingers. But hello there. All right, well, we got about 7 minutes into it. I guess I'm being compelled to go over to the acoustic mode. All right, so just bear with me. I think my fingers are too strong sometimes to those strings, but need that as a way. All right. Here we go. And that, we just had some new strings put on them recently, which I have yet to even investigate. But let's get the mic back here. I have the air conditioner running full blast today, also in the other room, because it's bloody hot. It's 95 right now in New York City, and tomorrow it's going even hotter. It's going up to 98. But that's nothing compared to what my family on the West Coast are having inflicted on them by old Mother Sun there. I think it's like 112 in Riverside. I don't know. So everybody who's suffering, I mean, anybody who would be a climate change denier after such a display of this radical heat, it hasn't even been incremental. It just sort of started, I don't know, 10 years ago we stopped really having a spring in New York City here. It would just get really dark and rainy. And then one day, right around Bloomsday, summer was here. All right, so I think I'll do this electrically. So just bear with me. I'm going to switch. I got a new volume pedal in the mail today as a birthday gift from my buddy Craig Shalom, a great guy, a great guitarist. I love this guy. He's a fellow Syracusan, but I didn't really learn about him or become friends with him until well after I'd left that fair city. I forget who hooked us up, but he's been a really strong supporter and a friend, and he roadied that drove for me on a couple of instances. some funny touring stories there. But let's see what we can do with this baby. And it's going to get loud, as they say. And not so bad. All right, so now let's see what. I know a lot of you have been dying for me to switch back to the acoustic mode, but I'm so stuck on that song, that music, I should say. It's not yet a song because I haven't applied lyrics to it, but if you got any, feel free to submit them. This sounds like hookist.com, my friends. I should actually contact Terry Durgash and his girlfriend, because I did a lot of podcasts for their series hookist.com, whereby I wrote songs with a viewing audience over a series of the podcast, and some good lyrics were submitted too. And we got in a spectacular singer in the last go-round of a song called, what was it? Oh, Stolen Moments. Yeah. So, well, anyway, let's see what we get here. supply the old tuner. Always a good idea. So while I'm at it, I want to put in a plug for Rick Kelly at Carmine Street Guitars, of whom they made a really good doc about, called Carmine Street Guitars, you should check out. It's probably online now. I didn't make the cut. No, I never got filmed for it because I was in Europe when they did principal photography. But a lot of my friends in it, like Lenny Kay and what have you, talking about Rick, because he custom builds guitars and they're beautiful. And he uses old timber for his guitars. Most recently, I can think a speakeasy, an actual speakeasy here in New York, which, if you know your little history of the Loosh side of New York, during Prohibition, when they could not legally sell alcohol for some insane reason in this country, little joints popped up with hidden entrances and no signage announcing them that were kind of like private bars. Well, not private, they probably would let anybody in. It wasn't like a members only thing. It was just you had to know where the entrance was. And so there was one really old one known as Chumley's, not too far from where John and I live in the West Village. And that had been kind of a hidden restaurant bar for a long time. A beautiful joint with a lot of artifacts on the walls, going back to the 20s and 30s, of people who, had frequented this joint and drank in this joint, and they'd eaten in this joint. A lot of people's initials carved everywhere. There was a lot of wood in there. Well, Chumley's collapsed. It's horrible to contemplate, especially, I'm just reminded of this tragedy in Miami Beach. Really awful, and it's an Einstürzende Neubauten, so these were old buildings, coming to life, and we should all, say, there but for the grace of, etc., for the time being. This building that we're in is a 19th century warehouse. It was the first conversion in the West Village. And I was the second tenant in here, 1977. And just how I found it was incredible, because I'd moved to New York in the spring of '77. I always wanted to live here, but really didn't know that many people here. And it just seemed daunting, but I was kind of forced here. It's a long story, but I sublet a beautiful railroad-type apartment over on Bleecker, right off 7th, between 6th and 7th Avenues, right next to a famous butcher's shop, famous for displaying dead game in the windows, rabbits and whatnot, really disgusting. But I won't mention any names. We were up on the 4th floor, and that summer of '77, we had quite a floor show every night, because Philippe Petit, the French mime who was then resident in New York City, the guy who walked between the World Trade Center towers, would roll up on a unicycle and string up a little miniature tightrope from a fire hydrant up to a sign. He had it rigged. And then he'd prance up and down the tightrope and do tricks. And I would sit there in the front window of this tenement apartment building with an incredible front row seat on this night after night. This went on pretty much all summer until the great blackout, which hit somewhere in July, I think, or maybe early August. I'd just sit there, and those were my stoner days. I'd be like, bubbling up the old hubbly bubbly, watching Philippe Petit, and just marveling at the miracle of New York City. This is in '77, mind you. Things have changed a lot. I hate to say it, but anyway, the building that we moved into, I found through. Well, the only way you could find apartments in those days, because they didn't have any internet going or online notices, obviously, was you would have to get up really early on a Wednesday morning at about 6 a.m. and go to wherever they delivered these things and get an early edition of the Village Voice weekly newspaper, because all the new apartment listings would be listed there. And then it was a race and a scramble to try and line up a viewing of the apartment. So me and my first wife, Ling, did that because we knew we had to move out mid-September. So some point that summer, maybe in early August, we did this, and I saw a description which turned out to be this place. And we came over and we took it right on the spot, although the price of the rental in those days seemed horrifically high to me, which was $495, which, I was only then freelancing, writing copy for CBS Records. I just started there as a freelancer in June, thanks to Susan Blonde, who I'm giving a shout out to. But anyway, I just said, all right, well, somehow we'll manage, and we took it. We had no furniture, nothing, and then just, we had cardboard boxes covered with wrapping paper for a while, and a mattress on the floor, and this kind of thing that one does when you're 23, 24 years old. But anyway, I'm still here in this apartment. I love this apartment and the building, and as you know, we still have a bit of a view out there, and that's been somewhat curtailed with construction. Here I remain. But it seems pretty substantial to me. I don't think we're in danger of imminent collapse in this joint, but I could be wrong. I mean, there have been all sorts of predictions of tidal waves and tsunamis, and we've seen all the disaster movies, right? There's a very good one I shared with my friend Danny Fields recently. I think it's called Tidal Wave. Anyway, it shows the destruction of New York by a tidal wave with, of course, miniature models, but it's still kind of frightening, saying all that. Even though you know that they're models, you wouldn't really. It's a disturbing film, guys. So, still sounds pretty good for a 1941 Gibson J45. And over here, so I got a wonderful gift from Caroline for my birthday last week, which I wanted to show you, which is the Essential Fellini. I have the Essential Gary Lucas. There's a lot of essential stuff. I think the first I was aware of was a book called The Essential Lenny Bruce. This is all of Fellini's films on Blu-ray, beginning with Variety Lights, The White Cheek, I Vitelloni, La Strada, Il Bidone, Nights of Cabiria, The Dolce Vita, 8.5, Juliet of the Spirits, Fellini Satyricon, my favorite of all of them, Roma, Fellini Amarcord, and The Ship Sails On, and Intervista. I think that about covers it on the Fellini front. So, well, I went to start digging in just over the weekend with Variety Lights, which I've never seen. And I had purchased last year, during the height of the pandemic, a Blu-ray DVD player that was touted as being all region. But basically what it was a Sony, that this company, I won't give out the names, but you'll find them on the internet. They had hacked and rigged it so that it became an all-region player. So I went to play this because it played a British Blu-ray of Ava, a great film, perfectly, which is a Region B film, which is unplayable on most US players, unless you pay big bucks, 600, 700 bucks. This thing cost about 100. So I thought, what a deal. Anyway, played that perfectly, and I haven't used it since then, but I went to play Variety Lights. And lo and behold, it was stuck in the Region B. So, but they were great because they promised lifetime service and a warranty guarantee for the purchase. So after thinking I need to buy another one, I got a customer service guy on the phone, and he walked me through it. It was a very easy process to render it back to Region A. And so we have something to look forward to viewing, maybe tonight. Anyway, what else can I tell you? Okay, this Thursday, right about 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're rolling out the first single of Le Beast Concrète, which is my brand new project with David Sisko, an old friend of mine, buddy of mine, who's one of the most gifted, talented musical people I know, who's a whiz at sampling and beats and like that. So we created, it's essentially all instrumentals. There are 8 of them on the album. The album will be out August 11th. It's called Gargoyle. But the first single is Realize It, and I've been posting little teaser clip snippets that hopefully will entice you to throw down. Or even if you don't throw down, you can watch it on YouTube, because there's an amazing clip that my friend AAA, 3XA, made for this. That's something else, and that'll go live, as will the track itself, on all your platforms, digitally for download and streaming this Thursday, right about 11 a.m., just in time for the big holiday weekend. But before you take off from wherever you're going, do yourself a favor and take this, download it, take it with you, because it will be big fun as a soundtrack, maybe, if you like it. But there's no accounting for taste. I know that Caroline can't stop humming and singing it, just as she couldn't stop today. If I could switch the camera on and show you when I was playing, but I'm not gonna, I don't want to embarrass her. Lulu and Caroline love Hole in Your Soul, the first thing I was playing. But anyway, oh geez, I'll play one more thing for you. Okay, and I think it'll be in the nature of something more radical. that's about it for today. We'll have the electric guitar up and running on Thursday, I promise. Because I'm really into playing it these days. I love acoustic too, but I'm in electric mode. And until such time, I hope everybody stays well and healthy. Thank you for joining me today. Love you guys, and I'll see you on Thursday.